So there's a Porom Palom deck that I've found that runs Fusoya, costs less than $50 to build from scratch, and will probably help you win your next locals. So towards the end of the last format, just before Opus 5 came out, it was really popular in Japan to play the Water Lightning Fusoya deck. And there wasn't necessarily a reason that people were running Lightning. The reason for Water was Ephemeral Summoner and Moogles, so you could cycle your extra Fusoyas. But the reason for Lightning was kind of just because Al Cid was a good card. But I actually think that there was a card that specifically suited the Fusoya set even more. And so towards the end of Opus 4, I found Fire Water Fusoya to be actually one of the better decks around there. I actually would say that there was a tier 1 Firewater Fusoya build towards the end of Opus 4. So the reason that I'm so keen on Fire as the second color is because of Lednar. Lednar is an insane card because if you have Lednar out and you pair it with removal, your opponent attacks you, they pay the tax when you block, or they don't, in which case you block for free. But they pay the tax when you block, and then after they've paid the tax, you remove their forward and they don't kill Lednar. And this one Lednar can become this tax machine that takes like, I don't know, 3 or 4 cards out of your opponent's hand before it dies, which actually often happens, as I will demonstrate later on in this video. So basically, Lednar is just a cheap forward that every time your opponent interacts with it, they're just going to lose. And if they have no forwards to block, then it serves the purpose of a forward just as much as anything else does. So I felt it was the perfect candidate for the deck. But it wasn't just Lednar that Fire brought to the table that I think was really good. All the other Fire cards that we were just throwing in decks to say, oh, this is, this is Water Fire now, this is Ice Fire, it's mostly just the same stuff, the few small good cards, which was Belias, Vivi, Firion. Now, I'm not running Belias in this build, but Vivi and Firion already serve the purpose of everything that we were trying to achieve with this deck, while also just being really, really typically strong. So Vivi is a removal, and then it leaves around a body that is too small for your opponent, too small and too cheap for your opponent to even be bothered removing it. And Firion is a great use of the Ephemeral Summoner body, because the Ephemeral Summoner body now has the ability to just attack into anything 8k or less, get blocked, you play Firion, and you trade up. And that is really, really efficient, considering that the Ephemeral Summoner body is something that basically ends up on your board for free when you use it to cast a summon from your deck. Tonberries is a really important card for the Fusoya set, and the reason why is because typically what the Fusoya problem was is that if your opponent's just playing 8 or 9Ks, then they're like, just annoying and just out of range. And Tonberries fixes that for free, because Tonberries is a really, really strong card just kind of typically, like as a 3 mana card, like Leave It Out, and then later on Battle Trick, 2 mana, and then 1 later. But if you can get value out of its entry effect, it tips it over the edge of ridiculous. So in the end, we have this amazing combo set, which is Fusoya, Ephemeral Summoner, Kukulin, and Leviathan. The double Leviathan, because it can bounce your Ephemeral Summoners and Legendary VVs. You have Firion, you have Vivi, and you have Lednar. And almost any pairing of these cards has a great synergy between each other. Lednar is really, really good with Tonberries, because you leave those 2 cards on the board, and your opponent knows they have to attack into it. They know they have to pay the Lednar tax when I block, and they know that they're just going to die. Like, it's a really blatantly obvious play when it's out on the board, but at the same time, what is your opponent going to do about it? They have to go through it eventually to get to your life points. So this Water Fire set was already really strong and already had a lot of synergy behind each other, and I thought it was one of the best decks at the end of Opus 4. But in Opus 5, we got Phoenix. And Phoenix turns out to be really, really good. I don't remember who said this, but I think someone said to me that Phoenix will be the next Al Cid. And after playing this deck, I fully believe that Phoenix, it's actually on that level. Phoenix is the next Al Cid. So the Porom Palom set, for most of you, if you're watching this video, you probably know. But if you Phoenix in the 3 mana Poroms the 3 mana Porom or Palom that say when they're played in a way other than from the hand, they get their effect, well, they get their effect. And the efficiency behind that is basically the same as playing a Leviathan, playing a 2 mana summon that deals 8k damage, which is a good summon, and then having a 6k body just appear on your board. Or if you get the Palom, obviously, it's more like playing a Brynhilda than a Leviathan. Now, the Porom Palom set wasn't always that strong. However, the 1 mana Porom itself, tagging into the 3-drop, I believe has always been strong. At the time of its release, it had struggles, and the reason that it had struggles is because the numbers, you basically needed to run 3 and 3 if you wanted to do anything efficiently, and then even still, you might just draw all your 3-drops and feel bad. But with Leonora, you're way more likely to find your 1-drop, and the 1-drop card is amazing. So just like Lednar, it's a really resilient body. You can play the 1-drop and just keep running at people. If you remove all their forwards, it's going to keep on putting damage through, and every time someone targets it, it just comes back to hand, and you return it to the board for 1 extra mana. So it's just too frustrating a body for your opponent to bother denying you. But then the efficiency of the card when you play it and then just straight up use its effects the next chance that you get is basically like playing Strago, which was a fine card. It's currently being used in strong decks now. It's a rather strong card, a 3 mana 6k that bounces a forward. But I think this card's a little better, and the reason is Porom can block an attack as it's doing that. If your opponent has 2 forwards, you can block one with Porom, tag it out, and then bounce the second would-be attacker. And then if they have a 3rd attacker, you could still have a body to chump block. The amount of damage that this card can deny your opponent, while also just being tricky to deal with and high value, is amazing. I've always loved this card, and the fact that now we have Phoenix and an incentive to play these 3-drops anyway. The 3-drops were going in the deck no matter what. Like, you need them in the deck because Phoenix is actually that amazing. Like you were playing some Alcid components purely because they would pair with Alcid. And I think this is even easier than that because the components don't need to be in your hand. You can just have found them at any point in the game and just throw them in the bin. You can play Leonora to search them out of your deck and then just throw them away. But since we're playing them anyway, we're going to play the 1-drop Porom because it's insane. As for the Palom, you can even make it work in this deck. I will admit, like, Palom has been a really kooky card that doesn't quite work in the past, but I was actually surprised to find that the 1 mana Palom as a 1-of in this deck is fine. Like, very often you actually get its secondary effect off. And if you have Porom on the board, you can protect it as well, so it's rather safe. It's all just about the fact that you have just so much removal and red mages in the deck that Palom is really efficient by itself. And to be honest, if you ever do resolve the Palom, it is insane. It is a 1 mana 6k that deals 7k damage on entry. And that's insane. That's like better than Heroic Cloud from Opus 4. In short, they reprinted Alcid in the form of Phoenix, and it fit into one of the best decks that was already good in the last format. And then we got given Ayame also. So Ayame was kind of questionable when I first saw it, but in a deck where you can set your own health to whatever you want, and as you get down to that 5 threshold, instead of going backwards to achieve that, you're actually marching forwards. Ayame comes down when you're not just behind, but also when you're ahead. A 3 mana 10k Brave is a really good card. So the reason I'm playing Tella is actually for consistency's sake. And the consistency that I'm trying to kind of combat is if you open, say, only water backups, and then you draw a fire backup when you've got, say, 2 water backups out, you want to be able to use your water backups to play your fire backup. And for that, I wanted a fire backup that cost more than 2. And I looked through all the options, and Tella seemed to be the best one, unless I wanted to run something like Zangan Tifa. But I think Tifa lacks the power to compete with all the cards in Opus 5 now. But this card has turned out to be amazing. Like, the old Tella already was a decent card. I think it was a very underplayed card that just needed the right deck to fit into, and this is the right pace of deck for it to fit into. It's actually really, really good here. The fact that they can cycle each other out works really well with the specials, because when you draw the 3 mana one, if you really want to play it, you can just break your old one to get value from that, and then play your 3 mana one. And there's a great combo where we can use Ephemeral Summoner to put a Leviathan or Kukulin on top of our deck to make sure that this Tella does 12 or 16k damage, which is great because that means the deck has one more way to deal with the new Ash Razzler combo. There are 4 1-drops in this deck. I've never whiffed and got a Moogle, but just in case that is a possibility, when you're using Tella, try to just make sure that if that happens, it's not so devastating to you at that particular time that you lose. So this is my brief overview of the deck. I have had so much fun with it. Like, I'm actually in awe at how fun this deck is to play. The stuff that you do is ridiculous, and you're doing it while playing Porom and Palom, which is just really fun cards in general. Everything you do with Porom and Palom is really goofy, and every time you resolve a Phoenix, you just feel incredible. Like, it's just as good as getting an Alcid, except you don't feel dirty. You feel a little creative. So Jamie Faulkner gave me a few games with his Water Ice Moogle deck that has gained a lot of popularity lately, so that I could showcase this deck and what it can do. So thanks heaps, Jamie. And now I'm going to pass you guys over to Past Me to show you the games. So I will see you in my next video. Love you guys. This is a much better hand than what we were playing with before. I'm always going to get stressed out when I play against Jamie. Wait. Because it's actually a legitimate test of skill. So, basic rollout here is, I think he'll be playing his Water Ice deck. I hope he's playing something especially competent for us to smash. And it looks like it's the one. So, true. Okay, well we can Fusoya that, and it's a good target. The question for him is, does he want to draw or deal damage? And I think he will probably rather deal damage, but this means he's got a terrible hand. I might ask him. Okay, he thinks this is a good opening. Fair enough. I might just go ahead, slam a Fusoya down. Next thing that I could do is I could go all in on this Teller. That means that next turn I can play Leonora if I have a water card, get Porom, and play the Porom. So we'll do this. So he'll consider drawing, but I think it's actually more, it depends how stuffed his hand is. If his hand is absolute rubbish, then he wants to fish for a backup so we can actually get into the game. But I think since I have Fusoya out, he actually gets more advantage by hitting me. We drew a card, alright. He found his backup too. But he needs to play faster against this. One of the excellent things about this... Oh my gosh. Okay. If we kill that Mog, we're ripping a card out of his hand. The earlier we do it, the better. So we leave this in our hand because it's actually just like crazy strong. If he dulls 4, which is a good chance, then we can kill the Mog with the Kuklin. So we'll get rid of this. We're at 4 backups. We'll have a lot of removal. We'll get rushed down pretty low. But we'll quickly get back on top of things. We'll just put this right on the board. So if we take 2 damage this turn, and then we Fusoya something, we go to 3. But then we are like in a really commanding lead. So I think that'll be absolutely fine. Draws a card. Yeah, we need to crush this soon. Currently it's only been about fair. I feel like oh my gosh. No wait. No, that one. This one. Because we can get... Well, that's just insane. I feel like it's not even a test. Hopefully we'll be able to fit 2 videos. Yeah, it is pretty sad. That's why Black Waltz is really, really good. Because it's a pretty fair card when you play it, and it's pretty unfair when you get it as X-Burst. That's gonna die. He's already dead. That's the thing. Right now, a lot of people are playing these inconsistent decks, 14 backups. And if your opponent just starts slow against a deck like this, okay, well, he's got to sell us so he can stay in the game. But if your opponent starts slow and then you hit them with just a couple of Fusoyas, that's it, they're out. Like, it's over. Oh my gosh. Look at all cards. Please have a Palom in here. Okay, there's a little Porom. Itty baby Porom. Is there any good target that we could have in here? So this is going to block 2 attacks. The way it's going to do it is it's going to block whichever is attacking. Then I'm going to use its effect to tag out, play the 3rd one of these from the deck to bounce the other attacker. And that's where the strength of this deck really comes in, really comes out. So I'll take a maximum of 1 damage next turn, unless he does a dull effect. So I could play something here with this, but I'm probably just going to use these backups for mana. If I can get a Palom out, this could be used this turn if things get toasty. That actually gets a discard out of me. Probably get this Porom. Yeah. Porom Special is only going to be good if we can actually get Palom on the board, which we could. It's actually like realistic. So this Mog is actually carrying him. We probably should have just deleted it somehow earlier. That's another turn that Celis is freezing this though, which is absolutely ridiculous. Maybe it wasn't worth it. Maybe it was actually correct to take that damage. So this is going to draw him 2 cards, so we've got to actually remove that. And it was better to keep this. This has put me in a really strange situation. Really strange. There aren't any good Phoenix targets right now. Like, all of these things that should be getting us value just aren't. And he's got this actually keeping him in the game. If it goes on much further, I might not be able to stay on top of this. I really should just delete this with Teller. But then I have no fire. I think I might block with this just so I can 8k some stuff. Alright, that's what we'll do. We're just going to pass the turn. We're going to block with this, and then we're going to use all of this stuff. Genesis. How do I feel about that? So we'll take this damage and then we can board wipe. Yeah. Alright. Hopefully this is X first. It's not. Then I need to discard a card. These are up. Discard. That. So I can actually do this now. Yeah. Let's get this sideways. Oh wow, he went for the damage. Okay. Okay, that's awesome. So we can kill 2 of these with this. So this kills 2. Wait, this kills 1, this kills 1, this kills that, this kills the other. And then we have 3 forwards. Alright. There we go. Okay. Remove remove that. Well, that was awesome. So we can just swing with everything and put the pressure on, right? Is there ever a reason not to? The reason is if he gets Jill Nabat. Go with this. This still prevents a lot of things. I don't think his I don't think Ice Water. No, he doesn't have any haste in Ice Water. Like if he's playing an Onion Knight, I'll shoot it. But he's not playing an Onion Knight. Sarah. Cool. Well, I'll just shoot it now before he can dull. And then there's literally nothing in his deck, I believe. Nice, that's a win. First one, alright. This is fine, I can keep this. This is great. That's even better. For early. It's because it keeps our options open. So Giss is not actually too useful in this deck. The biggest reason that it's in here is just for later on when you find the multiple Fusoyas, you can hoard it to have an option to cycle through and it comes up. Giss used to be really strong as a 2-mon 8k that resists Alcid and such like that, but now the meta's shifted over to other things that are also powerful. It's less as important. In fact, I'm just going to throw mine in the bin right now. Play this Leonora. So he's actually got backups now, so this should be a really good game. Excellent. So all of these cards are really good from this position. I don't want to play like any of them. I guess Furion is the least useful at this point. I think we have so much other removal that we can throw it away. Like the Mog will probably just die the turn it comes out, regardless. So Lednar would have been fine, except developing this Fusoya now is probably the most important because we need it out for probably next turn when Sarah comes down. If Sarah comes down when there's 3 Moogles already, and that, like, if Sarah came down now and I didn't have a way to kill it, I would be in huge trouble. I do have the VV, so it wouldn't have been a disaster, but... So I can bounce it, or I can just let it get frozen. I think it's fine just to let it get frozen. So I feel rather confident playing aggressively against him. I don't see a reason yet why that would be a problem, because I don't believe his deck runs Cloud of Darkness. Zalira is a mild problem. So that should just remove that. He can discard cards to keep it, but I doubt he will. Discards Bismarck to Bismarck. Are you kidding me? I can just add that back to my hand. Okay, that's fine. So I don't want this to hit my face. I might tank it with VV, to be honest. We'll play this now. Just... I will be tanking that with VV. I might get free stuff against him. So now, like, he can't progress. Because I left this up and waited on the defense. He's actually unable to stop this. Wait. It was a mistake because this is, no wait, it's not because he's dulled. I don't want to discard that. I really have to though. So if he has Mattias, it's pretty bad. But if he has Mattias, he needs to pay tax again. Okay. This Lednar held the line. It blocked him out of a whole turn of mana use. In vain. It's just awkward. No cards in hand. I can Phoenix it. I can do a whole number of things to that. I'm just hoping that... Wait, do I have a choo-choo train left in deck? Yep. That's it. That's the game. Game's already over. He can't recover from this. Now I'm winning the damage race. I have all the removal. Game's already over. In here, I have... yeah, put choo-choo in damage, not break, yes. I'm cheating the octagon and not using the octagon the way it should be used. Actually, we're just gonna go ahead and just play more cards. Because we have so much removal, so much extra forwards coming onto the play, that we just want to put the pressure on, make sure that we can end the game as our removal stacks up. Like, look, he's helpless. Like, there's nothing that he can do. There's nothing that he can play that I can't just immediately get rid of and then land damage on his face. And at this point, like, the Tonberry is backing up the Lednar as well. Like, everything's just fallen in place for me just to get free stuff on it. This just dies for free. Everything dies for free. That kills that. That kills that. 1, 2, 3. That's it. Got him, boys. He can draw, he needs like exactly Zalera Shiva, and then that only just clears the board. But... got him. Hell yeah.